my head is bloody.
Hello YouTube! Once again, this is Taz Olson, and we are going to be doing another one of these tutorials. It's been a while since I've done one, so today I'm going to be showing you how to place things in a scene behind detailed objects, such as grass. Now, this can add quite a bit of depth to your shot. It looks like something is actually behind something. It makes it look more realistic, especially if it's something difficult to go behind. You know, a building, not a big deal. Blades of grass or like a chain link fence or something like that, it's quite a bit harder. So let's drop this into our into a new composition and let's begin. So first we're going to need the back plate, then we're going to need to duplicate that, Control D, and that's going to bring us with the copy we're going to use as our mat. So basically what this is a shot from Desperate Measures 2, the film we shot a while ago, like almost a year ago. So I've got this automatic fire here that's going to be going through. It's going to be attached to that gun. We've also got some of these dirt charges we're going to be working with. Place those behind the grass. So let's begin. Let's start by creating a new null object and select this, our bottom layer. Hit track camera, or not track camera, my bad. Hit track motion, and make sure our edit target is set to our null. Let's go add this. And basically just select the end of the gun there. It doesn't matter if it tracks perfectly, just about that, because it's like way in the distance and no one's really going to notice too much if something goes out. But if you want to add extra, you can go in and hand track it. I believe this doesn't stay perfectly tracked throughout the entire shot, so and we need this right to about the point where he gets shot. Alright, so he's now moving up now as if he got shot. Alright, so let's hit apply. Apply dimensions X and Y. Now we can select our automatic fire. Move it. Let's just turn this layer off for now. Let's move this so that it's scaled down. Hitting S opens up scale. T opens up opacity so we can actually see what we're doing a bit more. Do that, and then we can hit the Pickwimp parent and select it to the null one once we have what we're looking for. Now one thing I notice here is that my shot is really not quite long enough. This certainly shouldn't be so large. And this could be set to add or screen. You know, add's looking a little bright. So I'm noticing that this does not quite go on forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Layer, Pre-Compose, Leave Attributes. I'm going to select this, go to Composition Settings, set this to about 5 seconds long. And now we have about the length of this. We want it to go to I want it to go to about 406. So let's make this go to 406. Then I'm just going to Control D, Control D. Now I notice that this goes 1, 2, 3 every 3 frames. So where it ends, three. I'm going to start the new one. Okay, where's the last one? 1, 2, 3. Let's start the new one. This way we also get the sort of the smoke that shows up in the end of that last one, so we still get the smoke from all of them if we keep doing this. Let's find the last one. 1, 2, 3, Control D. Alright, so that works nicely. Actually, since that lines up nicely with the last one, I can change this back to about 5 seconds so I can just get more of that smoke in the end. So now we are going to bring back some opacity to this. I always want our muzzle flares to look good. We can access our stylized glow. You know, we can always get some cool stuff from there. You could also use star glow potentially, but that kind of stylizes things, and I don't like stylizing things that way. So I'm going to duplicate our automatic fire, bring up the glow radius, bring down the opacity, change the top one to screen, add a little bit of glow to that. You can drop the glow intensity a bit too. Probably drop the opacity on it also. And make sure it's still full. Let's see. So now we got a full, what do you call it? We have a full automatic fire. Let's check this out. See if it tracks nicely. It's looking pretty good. And good.
Hey, this is my hiding spot.
Alright, we still have audio. So that's what's going on. Alright, so I'm liking that. So now let's get to the actual stuff we're supposed to be doing. So let's go select our top layer. I'm just going to rename this matte. Pre-compose this to matte. It doesn't matter if I leave or add because we haven't done anything to it. I'm going to select it. I'm going to open it up, that composition, our matte comp. And what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to get around this area here. So first I'm going to probably duplicate this. I like to keep a a clean plate in the background. So let's actually that's too far. Let's just sort of do a mask roughly around the area we want to be working with. This will sort of help isolate everything. And seeing as we got that guy there, let's go around him. Seeing as we want him to be behind it also. And then seeing as the camera moves, I'm going to hit mask path keyframes, and I'm going to sort of make sure they all stay in frame. Let's just make room for this gun that hits them. Let's make this fall. Bring this back down because we no longer really need that space. Actually, let's just keep this down, because we'll just mask him out later. Let's do him individually. And yeah, I guess that should be good for now. So yeah, I'm going to go into, seeing as they, something we want in the background, something we want in the foreground, crossover here, I'm going to mask him out individually. Just spend a little bit more time on that. Keep this down. Okie dokie. So now we've dealt with all of that, let's go into the fun stuff. Let's go, let's go to color. Oh, sorry, I'm Canadian, I spell color differently. Let's go to color range, it should be in our keying. So let's go to add this to our matte. And what we're going to do now, we're going to start selecting the areas that we want to keep on top. So I'm going to select some of this green. And we basically want to turn the stuff we want to keep on top basically to black. Black means that there's like nothing there. You could also turn on the alpha settings and you could see that it's disappearing, but I find black a little bit easier to notice. So we want to get this about as good as we possibly can. Now, my camera is not exactly good, so that proves to be a little difficult at times, but I think I could probably move this in. I'm starting to get some stuff over there that I don't really want, seeing as I don't have to be too picky about this spot because I'm going to make everything happen over here, but alright. So that's good. We've got one. Now basically we just want to keep doing this over and over. Duplicating this. Select another color we want to keep. Getting as much of it as possible. You could probably do this in separate layers, but that would really just get in the way, I find. So I like this one. This one's getting a lot of stuff that should be gone. Getting some variation there, a little bit of alpha. Basically, this is a way to fairly easily mask out something. So I'm not really wanting to get rid of this area, but actually the more, yeah, whatever, that works. So I got that in basically only 2 rounds, so that's actually pretty good. Sometimes I have to use like 5 or 6 of those for a shot, and it basically works on the fact that the colors are usually different in the foreground than the background, especially in a shot like this where we got a whole bunch of dead grass in the background and a whole bunch of not so dead grass up here. Alright, so now we're going to take this bottom layer. Let's just duplicate this because I like to keep my back plate from the bottom one. Let's just delete everything. Switch this to, now we could just switch this to one of the mats. All kinds of craziness that we can do with that. We don't want to do the Luma mat because it stays black. We want to basically invert it, so Luma inverted has some cool results, but I don't really like what that does because it brings up too much of the other color, so I'm going to go with alpha inverted. This is just straight cut and clean. Hey, this is what's going on, and this is what we're cutting out. Another thing I also want to do is I want to go to the feather for both of these. I haven't added one. Just get a little bit of feather going there. Now when we bring this in, now it's probably going to start getting a little laggy here because of, you're doing quite a bit of stuff. I got 8 gigabytes of RAM, but it's still kind of going to run slow. So one thing we should be doing to see how this works, let's get some dirt charges going. So I'm going to just start a new composition. That is, sure, let's go 506, whatever. And I'm just going to add dirt charges into this. A whole bunch of them. I'm just going to work one at a time, and I'm going to pause the recording, but basically what I'm going to do is, seeing as our guy is shooting at 1 every 3 frames, I'm going to start one of these off, 1 every 3 frames. Another thing, I'm also going to take a copy of this, Control C, and just going to add it on top here or below. And for some reason my composition settings are way off. Oh, I need this to be 1920 by 1080. And our position is going to be set to, why is that 1280 by 720? I have no idea. So let's just go 960 by 540, which is half and half of 1920 by 1080. So it puts it like right in the center. That was a bit weird. Anyway, so I can put this probably below, and then take our shot, just move it in places we like. Don't want it to be too out there. I'm not really going to be color correcting anything yet. just going to be positioning them around. Let's also new null object and object that stays in camera the whole time. So I'm going to select this, go to track motion, I'm going to select this thing right here, this part of the basketball net. I'm going to hopefully be tracking that. I'm also going to select the rotation. This is basically so we can track the camera movement so it looks nice. And it doesn't look like it's made on something completely different. I'm going to select that point. So let's see if this tracks. It's looking good so far. Except this part is way too jittery. This part can't work because it's just moving way too much. So basically just look around, try to find points that are pretty obvious. Now if you set track points ahead of time, of course this will work much better. Seeing as this is just a tutorial, that should work perfectly fine. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, it looks like it's sticking pretty well. I can always go in later and change it around if I absolutely need to. So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to place one of these every 3 frames and position it the way I like. So I'm going to pause the recording and come back when... Alright then, as I have said I would do, I have gone through and added a little dirt charge every 3 frames. So now we have something that looks a little bit like this. I sort of tried to line it up roughly with the shot here, or where the gun is aiming. So now what we do, well, we can just take a look at what it looks like in here. Getting a little slow, so probably have to start lowering the quality of your video. Seeing as we are not yet using like roto brushes or anything, we should be fine. Although we are just about to get into it, but with this we are able to drop the mat on top, and the reason we're still seeing some is because our mat does not include our characters. So basically what we have to do now is we have to go into our matte composition, duplicate our clean plate, get our matte 4, let's solo this, bring it up to full, go to the beginning, double click it, and we will be given the ability to start roto brushing. Assuming it decides to work, because man, this is getting slow. Now things are working nice and dandy now that everything is restarted. So what we're going to do now, double click on this, activate the roto brush tool way up here. That is for CS 5.5 or CS 5 and up. So if you're using anything lower than that, you can just roto brush, which is using the pen tool, which I'm pretty sure everyone knows how to do by this point in time. You can still do that here. Really, the roto brush I just like because it's the lazy man's thing. It gets a lot of little details here and there. You don't really have to be very careful with this particular one because we're just having something back here, so it's really got to cover sort of this area generally. And if you go over a little bit, not a big deal. So I'm just going to bring this all the way to the end because I want to have this going as long as possible. Although we will have to get rather precise once he gets up here because he's going to collide with this character in the background, and we're going to also want to be putting a muzzle flare in. So for this, for the most part, we're able to just leave it here. I think I want to add this shoe in. Alright. Actually go back, get rid of this massive clump, because I don't want to have to be dealing with that later. You can go forward to about a second. This little green progress bar is how much it is gone over. The roto brush can be an extremely time-consuming and laggy thing to use, and it can be quite annoying at times, especially when you're near the end of a very long clip that you've roto brushed, and it needs to start doing its thinking process all the way to the end, and it can just take up a lot of RAM really quickly. So just keep that in mind. It takes a lot of time to think. However, it is smarter in a sense than rotobrush, or than the rotoscoping. It does it on its own without you needing to do it. For the most part, it sort of guesses where things are. I can't wait until the future where we get a much smarter version of the rotobrush. I would love one that actually works appropriately. However, a good chunk of why it doesn't work for me is because my camera is very inferior. Getting a better camera would help with a lot of stuff. So those who own pretty good DSLRs and stuff, or high-level video cameras of whatever kind, you're not going to have nearly as much trouble with this as I did filming this video, because there was that one shot along, like that one scene where I had to rotobrush everything out, and it was a fight scene, and that was just a nightmare. And as you could probably tell from how it looked, it was a nightmare to watch too. It didn't work out great. Let's get rid of this big crap area right here. You can, it's very simple. However, it's just basically click around. If you want an area specifically not to be used, you can start using the red brush. I want to start messing around with it about here. As soon as I got a nice quick motion here, I've got to go through each frame, just like I did with the fight scene I just mentioned, and destroy all this little inside stuff that I don't want. Another thing you could have done to your dirt charges that I didn't do, I might end up doing it for the final result, I don't know. Just color correct them to match the scene. Seeing as this is like sort of a dirt scene, it wasn't really necessary, I don't think, to remove all, or to color correct everything to the scene. All the dirt kind of looked like it matched. I think I did a little bit of color correcting in the interesting. The great thing about dirt charges is, unless you're trying to get them to really look like something other than dirt, like some people use them for blood bursts, and they do an excellent job at that. I'm thinking I might do that for when he gets shot in the head. I might just have that burst of blood come out. That'd actually look pretty good. I think I'm going to do that, yeah. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to tint it red for that, so that's becomes a whole different issue. Get your head in there, dude. And then kind of got that area, so we can jump ahead. I like working with these benchmarks here. They got them every half second. I don't know. Every time I'm working with a project, I like using the larger benchmarks that they like to add as the main points for my keyframe most of the time. Especially in like Sony Vegas, they give you a decent amount of benchmarked keyframes that I very much use, and you know, it's not too noticeable. They're not like every half second, they're like every like 2 frames or something like that. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've done any serious editing with Sony Vegas. However, in a week or 2 weeks or something like that, I'm going to be shooting another short film, much shorter than Desperate Measures, obviously, which it'll be nice because it'll be finally something on this channel. Because where I am now, it's just I've moved, and I really can't film anything anymore because of the locations I have, the people I have. It's just a nightmare. But I'm also volunteering at this group who I'll probably end up filming some stuff with them. It's a branch group of the Salvation Army, so that'll be something. Might go on here. I don't know. Okay, so I skipped ahead a little bit, so I don't have to try and fill time with conversation as I'm doing things. But now we got to stop it so we can do this part. Just got to get a little precise here, seeing as we're starting to connect with the background character. Just gotta get these areas quite defined. One thing I like to also do is I like to smooth this out, so I like to usually bring this to about 5. Yeah, our smoothness, you can use the refine matte later if you want. I find it a very useful tool. However, seeing as we're mixing with other things directly, could not be the greatest idea because sometimes it can make your edges look a little wonky, and that's never cool. So yeah, we're gotta be getting a little bit precise here. Want to make sure there's a defined edge between these two. Also want to kind of keep his head mask so we can, have a muzzle flare come right out. It'll be nice. Let's check on the rest of our. Oh, we can't let this be happening. Gotta be watching all parts. It's one thing I have done way too many times is get distracted with one part and then another part just becomes way out of whack. Let's get that. Get that. Let's cut this section. Of course, if you're spending trying to make this shot look good, you'll probably want to spend some time, get this all done correctly. I'm just scrubbing through it, getting the stuff that's necessary. Stuff that's not just sort of gets left behind. Another thing I'd probably want to do is add a pretty good feather to my edge once I'm done, so it doesn't look as bad. Gotta make sure I get this area too, because we definitely have a lot of stuff going on in this area once we get out of here. start adding the separation of his head from the ceiling. That, and we should be about done. Oh. Start getting his arms, it starts to appear. Nice, just like that. Make sure the head doesn't start taking over the shape of the character in the background. Oh. I want to keep the gun separate still. Alright, that should be about good. And I'll just finish this off and get to the point where this is done. Okay, so this is sort of what we got for the most part. On the mat 2 where we I did the alpha inverted track mat, I also dropped the expansion about 26 points. You know, sort of get rid of the feathered edge. It was kind of annoying. So this is sort of what we get. And that'll do perfectly fine for our shot. We're doing it rather cheesily. I'm not going for, you know, some extremely detailed, so let's drop our composition with all of our muzzle flares in here. I'm going to also take this, our back plate, and switch to a guide layer, which means it won't show up in our other compositions. That is there. So as we're seeing these plates come up, or these dirt charges come up out of nowhere, basically. I don't know, with such tall grass, you want to make it noticeable. It's hard to find the equal medium between where you want it to show up, or like how much you want it to show up, and how much you want it to be realistically subtle, because it's 5 o'clock, huh? The gunshot to the dirt isn't exactly going to... Seeing as, gunshot to the dirt isn't exactly going to displace a whole lot. Seeing as we're in third, our mass, like our rotor brush, isn't going to be working as well. I find that rotor brush really doesn't work very well in anything less than full. That's why it'll actually give you a little warning if you're rotor brushing in something lower than full. It'll say, we recommend you use it for rotor brushing in full scale or something like that. See, it'll come up, draw rotor brush strokes in full resolution, because really it makes a huge difference. But other than that, you know, it's pretty dang good. Rotor brush propagating, my old foe. Next to chaos and anarchy, of course. So we go back, find the point he probably got shot. I'm thinking about there. So I'm going to import file. I'm going to find my stock footage. Of course, I'm using Action Essentials 2. It's basically the greatest one out there. We just need another one. We need Action Essentials 3, so we can get like more of this stuff. I also want like grass flying through the air to work with my dirt charges, because it's annoying. All kinds of stuff flying through the air. I don't know which one to work with, so let's find all. Let's just bring them all in. Alrighty. We've got to find one that's head-on, seeing as we are reverse head-on. Don't want one that's got that weird thing to it. That looks about good. I like that one. It's not too much, not too little. We want to have it above everything else, because it's closest to the camera, except for our mat with our guy on it. And let's just have the gunshot go. In full resolution, this will be like right behind his hands masked out, so let's just find where we want it to be. About there. Duplicate it. Everyone's got their own way of doing muzzle flares. I like to set the top one to add, the bottom one to screen. Depending on the shot, of course, I'll also change this around. I like to go into Stylized Glow. Go to the add. Bump up the radius, which will give it an interesting pop. That'll be there. I guess I can go to Gaussian blur. How do you spell oh, two S's. Gaussian blur. Blur out the main one. That is screen. And alright, let's go to scale. Bring down the scale on both of those. Let's parent the bottom one to the add, just so we can just move around one of them at a time. Nice and good. Good, 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 good. Now we want alright, so we got a good frame in there, in between there, for the bullet to supposedly fly. You can always add in the bullet yourself. That gets a little difficult. Let's go into a dirt charge, find one we like. I usually like 9. 9's probably my favorite of the dirt charges. Don't want one with fire though. That one's a bit too much. Ooh, I like that one, but it goes off screen, and it's got some sparks in it. Sparks, don't want sparks. 13. I haven't used 13 in the shot, and I like that one because it's got the big chip. It could be sort of the bullet ricocheting off the skull or something. So let's use that. So let's drop this below everything and just turn it and the backplate on. I think I need my automatic on for a second. Okay, so I want it to hit right there. I think I have to scale this down quite a bit. One thing I should also be doing for just every time you use dirt charges, take this this pan behind tool, grab this little thing in the center, that is your anchor point, bring it to the bottom, that way, so if I want to rotate it, it'll rotate around the bottom, instead of, if it's over here, it's going to rotate around there. Just a handy thing to do, that way also if you're scaling, it deals with that accordingly. Still need to scale that down a lot. Bring this up to full resolution so you can really see what we're doing. Rotate it. Go back to, you bring this in properly so we can actually get the shot we need. I can cut off that first frame. Alright, I will, one second. Sorry, I had to pause that for a second. That's the perils of, recording during the day. It just never works out. There's always something that goes on. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have this rotate sort of in a way that it will shoot him in the head. I'm going to mask it accordingly. Sort of mask it like that. Switch this, hit M to bring up the mask properties. Switch that to subtract. I also want to make one here. And switch that to subtract. Smooth this point out here a little more. Bump the feather up on that one. Not a lot, because then we'll get into other regions of it, but okay, so now we can see this a bit better. Alright, so that should be about good right there. Now we can color correct this. So, simple color correction. We could probably use hue saturation. Just set this to colorize. Saturation. Lightness. Depending on how you want your blood to look, you can have it dark, you can have like one of the light variants. Freddie W usually does a lighter one. He usually also uses like a puff of smoke. Use like a smoke puff or something for that instead of actually a dark blood burst. Just in case you want to get a effect like his. Color curves, that's a very easy way to just adjust exactly how you want your color. Another thing I'm going to do, I'm also going to hit T, open up opacity, and just drop the opacity. Like, blood isn't perfectly, you don't have that much blood that's just going to shoot out of your head from a simple bullet, so. What we have, it's not so bad. I think I want to actually start angling this. I think I want to just angle this all the way. from there we can add more feather. Blend this all out a bit. All the stuff that doesn't matter. Da 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 da. And bingo. I like that better. Alright, another thing I might want to do is just add a fast blur, because those other blurs, they're just too slow. Alright, actually, you got this pretty far back, so I'll use a 3, turn that off, and now we can take a look at this with all of our effects turned on. So I'll load this up for you guys. Oh, gotta turn on the mat. It's like, why isn't the mat working? Okay, I'll turn these all on, and then once it's loaded, I'll show you guys, because it'll take a while because of the roto brush and all that. Alrighty, so here's what we've got. And that looks pretty dang good to me. So basically, this shot is done for the most part. We got a whole bunch of this dirt coming up here, and we can see it's like right behind all of the grass blades. It's very, very well done, I think. And if I spent some more time, I could be done even better. But this is like 100% better than bothering to mask everything. Like, I'd probably fix this spot right here. A simple mask could do that, though. But other than that, you know, this is downright magnificent. So the only thing left to do is to color correct this. So we're gonna do something basic. I'm not really gonna get really into color correcting because I'm not very good at it. I don't know. I don't see and understand the colors in the way that most people do. Some people's like, oh, we can portray this perfectly by doing this, some stupid thing. But for the people like me who just want to have something look good really easily, just get the magic bullet looks. You can do absolutely amazing stuff without really needing to know a whole lot. It's just takes things to the next level right away. If this would open. Come on, come on. Here we go. So we can see pretty good here what we should do. We can go through. I like to usually look through all the presets for, you know, starting point or a, you know, what do you call it? Inspiration. Plus, it has Colorista built in. It's not as good as the actual Colorista like plugin, but it's pretty dang good. You can bleach things. Just bleaching everything is always kind of cool. I don't like all this like diffusion stuff they've got in some of these. Berlin, that's sort of a war type thing. Berlin smooth. I don't know. I hate the diffusion. Like, take off the diffusion from everything. I think diffusion should be used for like dream sequences only. That's my personal opinion. Pretty sure the first one that anyone has ever used is Blockbuster. I shot like an entire video on that. It was just absolutely horrible. So we can I'm just going to like remove all of these and get into actually color correcting this. So start off, let's do this with a gradient. I'm not doing like an entire shot, so a gradient can be pretty cool. I like me some gradients. Don't want to start it with that, but let's give it a dark blue. Should give me like an option for color 2. Doesn't give me the option for color 2 that much. Right, let's go with an orange. One of the other cool things you can always do is have that anamorphic lens. Play around with the threshold, get some nice spikes going in there. Don't actually use that though for this particular shot, it just looked weird. It's certainly a really cool way to get some amazing lens distortion though. Hazy flare, okay. Don't really care for that. So let's just go colorista. Set that to post. Highlights. Good simple thought as always. Highlights to the shadows. Shadows should be like a dark bluish. Midtone should be sort of on their way. Let's get a contrast going in before that. Or no, I don't like the curves on this color contrast. Okay, maybe this shouldn't be as dark of a blue, but blue nonetheless. See, we get some like really deep changes. It's an intense scene. Drop the strength a bit. Color contrast. Let's add a film grain. Just a little bit of film grain. Add that little extra oomph. On our subject, let's go chromatic aberration. No. Let's go Cosmo. Alright, skin color. Maybe we can just play around this skin color. Okay, no. I don't know. Just sort of play around with this. You can do some absolutely amazing stuff with it. See, what do I like to do? I definitely love always. Ooh, bleach is always cool. Add a little bit of that bleach in. Don't want to have like your colors maxing out, of course. So film green, I think, should be like the last color. Want to go with the lens vignette. Always love my vignettes. So get this to a sort of blue vignette. Radius. Strength, not so much. The other thing we should go for is sort of an edge softness. It's like a blur vignette. Actually, that's way too much. Just a little bit of blur. Well, that actually looks good for the most part. Let's just go to the saturation. Change this to a bit more blue. Ooh, that's actually pretty nice the way it just isolates everything. Look at that. That's actually really cool. It's not what I want, but yeah, always drop the saturation. It's another thing that's very important in film. And I think I want to add another colorista. And that actually looks pretty dang good. So went from that to gonna take a while, of course, but let's have it so it doesn't have to load everything. Alright, so that is our final result. From that to that. Very cool color. I actually really like the coloring on that. The only thing is it's very intense and hardcore, so it's difficult to look at a little bit. So I don't know, I may want to just change this. Let's see what switching it to color does. Okay, no, that's not enough, I guess. Sometimes you just want to mess around with stuff. One thing, you know, if you're just trying to do like a straight bleach bypass, just switch it to color and just drop the curves like crazy. That's always one thing to do. That's a bit better. Switch this to 75. Alrighty. So that will be that. Sorry it took so long. That's the perils of having really late stuff in the day. Anyway, got something extremely off topic basically. So basically, the main idea of this is how to make the matte. So alpha inverted. Use the color ranges to select your main thing. Try to make them as black as possible. The thing you want to have above everything. You can also use roto brush, but for the most part, the main purpose of this is how to use the color range. Alpha invert that, and then just put it on top. And the rest of it was all pointless chatter. So till next time, my name is Taz Wilson. I'm working on some pretty intense stuff at the moment. I'm trying to work on how to create an explosion generator. So, you know, stock footage of explosions will not be relied on as much. And I understand you can generate explosions within 3ds Max and stuff like that, but I'm trying to find a way to do it decently, realistically. Within After Effects, also, it'll be, more properly done. And what I mean by more properly done is or not more properly done. It won't be photorealistic, but it'll be able to stand its own ground and be done all within After Effects and not have the absolutely stupid loading times. So, until next time, my name is Taz Olsen signing off. Good.